how do creators continue to come up with new and interesting things to create? Okay, so in today's video, I wanted to go over some different things that you could think about or investigate if you are struggling to come up with new content ideas, either for your YouTube channel or your blog, or maybe you vlog, whatever it is that you have to come up with content for. When you kind of hit a content block, here are some exercises and things that you can go through and think about. The first one is to think about, like, what do you love to talk about? What are you good at? And what is it that you want to share? So what are things that naturally come up in conversation with your friends or your family, or maybe even say you're at a networking event or something. Maybe it's a stranger that you don't know. What are the things that you continuously discuss or get excited about or just really enjoy talking about? So for me, I love talking about working remotely, travel, productivity, organization. That is what I like to talk about. And so you'll notice all my videos and my blog, those are kind of the things that I discuss. All related to the digital nomad lifestyle, which is the lifestyle I currently lead. So tip number 2 is to jump to Google. So Google searches, YouTube searches are super helpful in coming up with different ideas. Will also tell you what it is that people are actually searching for. So say you want to do a review of Hootsuite, for example. You've been using it, you love it, you want to talk about it, but you want to know what to say. You're kind of at a loss of what people might find interesting for you to say about it. Go to Google. What are people asking? What are the questions they have? What are the technical difficulties they're having with it that you might be able to solve? So get online, figure out what people are looking for. If you've ever seen those videos, the auto-completes that they do with celebrities, it's like, why so-and-so this? And then the celebrity, pulls off the end and they answer a question. That's essentially what you are doing. You are figuring out the Google autocomplete, the search autocomplete, and getting video ideas based off that. Once you kind of have some ideas, what are people searching for? What do you want to make a video on? Think about what type of video that you could create or would want to create. Is it going to be an informational video like this one? Is it going to be a review of a product or a system or a tool or something that you've used? Is it just for fun? Do you just want to go out and have fun? Are you a travel vlogger? Do you want to show off a place that you're visiting and why other people should go there? So think about what kind of video or videos. Maybe you can get 2 or 3 different videos out of one topic or one category, and think about the different ways that you could show it. The next thing to do is, again, if you've already created a lot of videos on a topic that you love to discuss, is there a way that you can break those videos down into smaller ones? So for example, I did a video on my top 4 business tools that I use. One of the tools I use is Trello. That was really the only time I've ever mentioned Trello, but Trello is a really big part of my life. So I broke that down into a smaller video or a standalone video and discussed Trello as a whole. How do I actually use Trello to organize my life? Again, you can take this with something like, maybe it's a product that you did a review on, and now you're going to do tutorials on how to use different aspects of that product. You can do this with your life, you can do this with business, you can do it with all sorts of things, but just think about something you maybe have already created, maybe you did a bigger overview of, and how can you break that into smaller videos. Now the next one is actually huge. It's this idea that you don't have to think of something new every single time, but instead share your content among different platforms. So telling people once, they're probably not going to hear you. There's a reason that on social media and different platforms, you see people talking about the same thing over and over. You see the same commercials, you see the same ads over and over and over, because exposure matters. Knowing that, and knowing that people consume content in different ways, is there a way for you to create something in a different format? So take a YouTube video, for example, turn it into a blog post. Take that blog post, turn it into your email newsletter, and then break it down even smaller, and you could probably come up with at least 5 different social media posts for the week. So instead of having to think of a new idea every time you get onto online, share the things that you already say in different ways, maybe, but also just amongst different platforms. So I actually have a handful of blog posts and videos that cover the same content. One's in written format, one is in video format. I also have a long list of videos that I have not created a blog post for yet, but I easily could. For example, this could easily be a blog post that I create. Now, there are some blog posts or videos that I have that would not work necessarily the other way around, but for the most part, you should be able to share the ideas you already have and the content you've already created in multiple ways. So think about that. If you're stuck on coming up with a new idea, how can you maybe just repurpose something that you've already created into a different format? And another thing is just to take inspiration from other people. So not copying what they do not take someone's content, but have you been on YouTube recently? Do you follow other bloggers in your same niche? What are they writing about? What is it that they're writing about or creating that is inspiring you? So when I am completely at a loss for ideas, sometimes I just jump on YouTube and I look at what other YouTubers are creating videos on and what I get inspired by. So maybe I'll watch a few productivity videos and that sparks an idea of like, oh yeah, I do this and I've never talked about it before. And then I create a video on it. There was one video I watched of a girl who did a review of different hot chocolates throughout her city. So she went to different businesses that serve hot chocolate in the wintertime and reviewed them. It's a very simple idea, and I thought it was super cute, and I started thinking, okay, well, how could I do something like that? Maybe you live in an area and you and your friends frequent beer gardens, or you're an IPA nerd, and so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go and review the IPAs from these 5 different breweries that I already visit and I like to talk about, and it's something I was gonna do anyway. So sometimes even just watching other people's videos can give you an idea of how you can incorporate something similar into your life, but talk about something that interests you. So that's one way of taking inspiration from other people without actually copying or taking their content. Another thing to think about is just like, what is relevant? Sometimes the videos that do the best are just because they're relevant to the time. So we've all seen during this global pandemic, everybody started podcasts, blogs, videos, commercials. Everyone was coming out with their own spin of, what to do during COVID-19. That is an example of something that's relevant. We also got a little over it after about a month or so, and I can guarantee you a lot of people stopped consuming those contents. I know I did with podcasts. It was like, I don't want to listen to it or talk about it anymore. So that's sort of like a large scale example of relevancy. But what are some other things that you could have created in that time? In one of my YouTube groups, there was a lawyer, and she created a video on the stimulus plan, like the stimulus check plan, and what that meant for individuals. And that video got her a lot of subscribers and watches and hours watched. And she was able to go from not monetizing to actually monetizing her channel just on a couple different videos. Again, that's something that's relevant and timely, but also really helpful. You don't just want to be another voice in the crowd. You want to say, okay, well, what can I share about this time? I recently did a review of a tanning lotion that I use, and that was kind of my way of doing a relevant, timely video, as we're all in quarantine and maybe you can't get outside as much as you typically would in the summer, but you still want that, summer glow and summer tan. So I did a review of a product that I already use and talk about in love. And that video is becoming one of my best videos that I've created to date. Well, maybe not best video, most popular video created to date. So what are some timely, relevant things that you can discuss? And lastly, the best way that I find to come up with new content ideas is to take a break. So it sounds counterintuitive, but the more pressure you put on yourself to come up with something new and do it in a time frame and you know, it's got to be the best idea, the more that your creative juices are probably not going to be flowing. So doing something active also really helps. Going for walks. I have some of the best ideas while I'm going for a walk. Again, taking a break, taking the pressure off yourself will actually give your mind a chance to start thinking through things. I, for the last 2 weeks, did not have a single video idea. Nothing. Every day I was just like, I need to record some new videos, but don't know what I'm gonna record them on. 2 weeks. It's a long time. It feels like a long time sometimes. And then literally just this morning, my brain was just like on fire and I came up with 5 ideas in about 30 minutes. So sometimes you just need to give yourself a break. Don't put pressure on yourself and know that it will come. So we are all creative in our own ways, and it's actually taken me a very long time to refer to myself as a creative person. I've never felt like I was a, you know, creator, but I am, because I have ideas and I have things that I want to share. Creative people are not creative all the time, and that's okay. But if you have an idea, explore it, see what you can do with it. And if it's something that you love to talk about, just talk about it, because I guarantee you will find someone else out there who wants to talk about it as well. So those are my best tips for how to come up with new content ideas for whatever your platform is when you are stuck. So thank you for joining me. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. I come out with new videos every Tuesday, and I will see you right here next week.